So what I'm going to do in this session is give you a tiny little bit of a background on nonlinear. Not that much, but just so that you have a bit of an idea where it comes from and how it's being used. Then we're going to do an actual session. And in that session, I will guide you through a nonlinear process so that you've actually experienced it. And then afterwards, I will answer some questions. We started this in the last session. We're also doing a giveaway. So we'll be giving away a book and a set of cards at the end of the session. And there's, some other fun stuff to come. Actually, I'll tell you the fun stuff up front because it's important for people to hear who are not on live. So one of the key features of nonlinear movement is that it's taught by a practitioner who's actually practiced a lot. And that makes a huge difference. Meaning our facilitators and the way we train people is they go through the process of really learning nonlinear movement by doing it. Because it is a somatic method, and I've developed that method over many years. I'll tell you about that in a second. And so we're very intent on everyone who teaches, including myself, of course, to have very in-depth practice in their body, under their belt. And so a lot of what is happening in the nonlinear movement method is a kind of direct transmission from the body and the nervous system of the practitioner to the participant. And, there's a very deep science around that, how mirror neurons and, all of those kind of things can influence the nervous system of another person. With that said, because of that and many other reasons, I don't record the actual guided practice. There's many reasons for that. This is the main reason. I don't want random recordings that were meant for that moment for those people to be out there and be chopped and changed, or the introduction not being included. So I don't record the actual session, and neither do our teachers, because it's always done fresh and it's always done in that moment. What that means is that in the replay of this, only the introduction will be available. However, you will all receive a coupon for a free full-length session. So there will be an email sent out afterwards. In that is a coupon, and then you can get a full-length session for free, regardless if you were on this call or not. And that way you can enjoy a full-length engagement with the method as well. So that comes in an email after. And like I said, there'll be a giveaway at the end of this session. So there'll be lots of goodies coming your way, so to speak. So I created the nonlinear movement method primarily to begin with as a tool for myself, because I worked a very, very, let's say, full-on is a nice way of saying it, a full-on schedule, both during my schooling as well as in my clinical years. And so the nonlinear movement originally was my attempt to work with my own nervous system in the face of not only quite intense schooling stress, and of course, when you're a new therapist, you sometimes hear things for the very first time. Nowadays, I've heard everything and then some, so it's a bit different. But in the beginning, of course, when you sit with people and you hear their stories, can be quite rough on the system, of course, because there's things you've never heard of. There's things that are very traumatic. And so in the context of that, as well as in the context of having lost two very close friends in very short succession in my early 20s, I used the beginnings of that method, which came from a central channel practice that my teacher taught me, and kind of adapted it so I could work with stress in my body, and I could work with freeze, and I could work with trauma patterns. And that's how I started more than 30 years ago. And then over time, I adapted this method to work with groups, particularly in the context of a facility that I worked in, a clinical facility that was both a rehab facility as well as a dual diagnosis clinic. So meaning people had either extreme trauma or a nervous system, traumatic situation that made them use drugs, or both, or a personality disorder. And so I started road testing what I had developed for myself in a clinical context where I taught groups of very traumatized people. And that's where I developed all the trauma therapeutic aspects of the practice. And there's many that have gone in there over the years, everything from how to reset the nervous system to very specific conscious and subconscious commands that allow for regulation. There's all kinds of research nowadays, but back then we were kind of trying it out with people on certain body postures, what works for the system, how can we empower the body to release and regulate. So all of those things went into the method as I started developing it as a tool for both group teaching and then in my one-on-one practice. And so last week was the 27th anniversary of me having my own office and my own teaching and counseling business. I know it's a long time now. I did 5 more years before then in practicum and all other kinds of things. But on April 14th, 1996 is when I rented my first own office, and I've been at it ever since. And so the method has been polished ever since. And nowadays, there's I looked at it yesterday, 22 different modalities within the method. And some of them I use for my private practice, some of them I use in my own workshops, and some of them are taught publicly. So there's a lot happening within the method that's not visible from the outside because it doesn't need to be complicated. When you're practicing, of course, when you become a facilitator, then you learn everything about the background. But when you're practicing, all you really need to know is how to be with your body so your body can take care of you. Because the really important thing to understand about our nervous system is that we have very efficient and very elegant systems that allow us to have high nervous system arousal and then deep relaxation. That's why it's called fight or flight, feed and breathe, or rest and digest. That tells you everything. It's surviving and thriving. And surviving and thriving work together in a way that has been literally developed for millions of years of humankind. So in the method, what we do is, in a very non-impositional way, we're giving the authority back to the nervous system to do what the nervous system and the body do best, which is de-escalate and thrive, but also be able to survive in the best possible way. So with that said, I won't bore you with much more of the details, but with that said, over these last 30 years, I've developed the method into something that can be used by pretty much anyone who wants to, practice for themselves. And why I'm saying pretty much anyone, you can do this method in any position. It's specifically designed so it works regardless of your fitness level, regardless of your age, regardless if you have injuries. We've recently had somebody go through stem cell treatment, and she was in an isolation ICU and in enormous pain. And all she could do is move one hand. And that's how she did it. And it still gave her the benefits. We've had people in wheelchairs. At the moment, one of our practitioners is teaching somebody who is a quadriplegic and can only move their face. And it still has the same benefits. So with that said, I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction on how to do nonlinear. And then that way you can participate in the session fully. And then if you want more background, Casey, who I actually forgot to mention, who is on here, sorry, Casey, You will find Casey right underneath me as the host. So Casey, of course, many of you know Casey from the office, is going to post a few links for you, and we also send those out later. So if you want more resources, there's an entire page on the nonlinear movement method on the website. And on that page, you will find all the frequently asked practice questions. They're time-stamped, so they're very easy to find. You can just scroll through and any question you have is answered there. Will also on there is the playlist, the nonlinear playlist. There is extra information for home practice. There is a link to the next teacher training, which starts next week. I do it once a year for people who want to become facilitators or use it in their practice. We have people who are dentists and psychiatrists and psychologists and crisis counselors in refugee camps and coaches and breath workers and all kinds of people use the method. We also have freestanding nonlinear teachers. So meaning that's all they teach, or several combinations with women's groups or other things. So if you'd like to know more about the teacher training, there's a link on the site as well. I'll also say something at the end about it because we have a special thing for today. And also on that page is a link to certified teachers, some of whom are teaching in person and many teach online. So everything you need is on that link that Casey just posted. So with that said, nonlinear movement is typically done on hands and knees. And there's many reasons for that, one of which is that it allows us to really access the parts of the body that we want to work with. So the soft front surface of the body is very important because we tend to be quite armored in the front of our body because, of course, we have to protect from actual as well as psychic injury where it's soft and vulnerable. And so that particular area, the throat, the chest with the heart, the solar plexus, the belly, also the pelvic floor, of course, that whole area needs a lot of attention when we are starting to work somatically with giving the body the kind of support so the body can unravel things and release things. And so that front surface of the body can be very easily moved when you're on hands and knees. The pelvic floor, which holds a lot of tension, but also a lot of information, can be really articulated on hands and knees. The back body with the kidney area. And then, of course, the neck, shoulders, head, where we hold a lot of tension, can really be felt in that position. If for whatever reason you can't practice on hands and knees, you have an injury, you're weak, your wrists are not cooperating, you're tired, you don't feel like it, you want to change position, any of those things, you can practice on your back. That's very useful as well because you have a lot of articulation of your shoulders and arms and hands on your back. So that's also really nice. I would just recommend that you don't have a pillow under your head so you don't accidentally do something to your neck as you start moving your neck. But you can be on a bed or on a mat and practice on your back. You could also practice seated if you don't want to go down on the floor. That's an option. Lots of people practice seated. The only position I would recommend you don't practice in is standing, particularly if you are new to nonlinear, because in a standing posture, some of the mechanisms of being close to the ground and what that does to your nervous system don't apply, and we tend to go up and out instead of down and in. So it's better you lay down than you stand up, unless you are very practiced and seasoned as a nonlinear practitioner. There are two golden rules to nonlinear movement. The first one being that it is an interoceptive practice, and that interoceptive practice is the practice of feeling inward. It's the practice of noticing what is happening in our inner landscape. So that's, of course, the inner sensations. It is the emotions, and it is the thought that comes with the inner sensation and emotion. And so in interoceptive practice, we allow those messages of the body to arise. And that arising of the messages of the body allows us a much deeper embodiment. And so we're working with that principle in also the posture and the way I phrase things and everything, but mostly it helps to close your eyes because that automatically gives you internal reference. Now, for some people, closing their eyes is tough, or you notice your eyes pop open when you start thinking about something external. That's fine. Just close them again as you can. It is much more efficient and much more beneficial if you can keep your eyes closed for large portions of the practice. The second rule, and this is a very specific mechanism that I've discovered in trauma therapy, as many of you know, I'm a trauma therapist by training, is that we keep one part of the body moving at all times. There's a very specific mechanism that allows us to undo some freeze patterns. But for that, you have to keep on moving when you hit one of those freeze patterns. And so typically how that looks is at some point, you're going to feel like, I'm done. Some people, when they're done, they start scrolling on their phone. Don't do that. But some people are just like, now I need to rest. My body's tired. That's the moment to keep at least one finger, or maybe you'll keep a few fingers moving or a little wiggle in the spine, because that's the moment where you could have hit a pocket of some old freeze, and you definitely want to unravel that. So keep your eyes closed as much as you can. Keep your body moving at all times, even if it's just a few fingers or toes. Or your face, whatever you want to do, and allow yourself to be in the process of that particular movement and engagement, so your body can take over the things that need to be dealt with. There's many benefits to nonlinear. Some of them are, of course, the unfreezing and the unraveling of tension and strain and chronic hold and traumatic patterns and negative beliefs and things like that. But there are also other benefits, amongst them heightened embodiment and sensitivity, which allows you on one end to set better boundaries, but on the other end allows you to be much more receptive when it comes to joy and fun and pleasure. There's also modalities that specifically deal with verbal expression, with the heart, meaning with love, with creativity, with vision, testing certain vision, meaning, envisioning something. So there's lots of modalities, but what we're going to do today is the very foundational modality that allows you to track what's happening inside your body through movement. This sometimes is very hard for people who are used to imposing what they want to feel on their body, because very often there's practices where you do things in order to feel certain things. This is the exact opposite. You're actually tracking what you're feeling and then allow that to move your body. And that's quite an interesting practice for many people who are used to essentially imposing on their body what it is that they want to feel. So with that said, I'm going to show you how this is done, and then I will walk you through a little bit of a session. So I want to say that, of course, this is a short session. I'm going to say this again. You're getting a coupon for a long session in the follow-up email so that you can have a full-length session. I'm going to guide you through the entire session. And the way this is done in nonlinear movement is I just give a very specific set of instruction at the beginning of a song, and then I let you actually practice by yourself, because it is an interoceptive practice where you listen to yourself, not to me. So it's very important that I give you space so you don't have to pop out and listen to me all the time. So you'll hear me give a little bit of an instruction, Then there will be music, and then I'll lower the music a bit when I give the next set of instructions. And then at the end, we'll do a short rest and relaxation period. I'll guide you in any position that feels good for you to just let your nervous system integrate. And then when I'll bring you out, I'll give you a few more pieces of information. We'll do a giveaway, and I'll take some questions. So with that said, I'm going to show you what this looks like from the viewpoint of tracking internal movements. I'm going to narrate this for you, but I'm going to go back a little bit so you might not hear me quite as loud. So I'm going to practice on hands and knees for right now. I often also practice like this. I kind of go back and forth between this and this position because I also like really articulating my arms and hands and shoulders. So on hands and knees, I always start by dropping my head because you can tell a lot about your state of tension from the back here. But for right now, I'm just going to keep my head up so you can actually hear me. And then what I'm doing is I'm just starting to move however my body wants to move. And then as I move however my body wants to move, I start noticing sensations or emotions or thoughts. And I just kind of move in response to that. So right now, as I'm moving, I have some tension in my mid back, which I really never have. Something happened yesterday while I went to the chiropractor, believe it or not, where when I came back, my mid back hurt. And so I can now feel that tension in the mid back. And so what I'm doing is I'm moving as the tension and as the discomfort. I'm not making it go away or overriding it. I just stick with whatever this is by moving whatever I'm feeling. And as I do so, I can tell that it's related to my hips. So now I'm exploring what's happening in my hips. But I'm not popping my hips out or popping my lower back. I'm just moving with the sensations that show up. And so as I move with the sensations that show up, I can tell what's under that pattern. And that's the important piece here, is that you essentially don't override the messages of your body and that you simply give movement to whatever shows up. Some of it, you won't even know what it is. It just comes and goes. Some of it, you'll have the urge to just pop it or make it go away. But when we do that, what actually happens in the body is the body goes, you're not listening to me. Right? You're just overriding. And then, of course, that message persists. And so it's very important to just track what shows up and not make it go away. That in itself, if you do nothing else for a few minutes a day, makes a huge difference in actually connecting with your body. And a lot of embodiment practice overrides that step for greater sensation. And then there's stuff that's underneath that never gets actually fully explored. So this is just one of many modalities here that we're going to do today. And I will guide you through it, and then we'll see if you have any questions or if there's any reports after. And then gradually bringing yourself back into regular awareness, but keeping your eyes still closed for a little while longer. Just stretching, wiggling your fingers and your toes. Taking a moment, if you're on your back, you can lay on your side for a moment. And then with your eyes still closed, bring yourself into a seated position. And in that seated position, feel once again where your body meets the ground. Feel how your body feels now. And then as a final part of the practice. You can offer yourself a bow, a hug, a nod, any gesture that allows you to end the practice formally. And then from here, you can bring yourself back onto the screen for a few more tips on how to use nonlinear. And then I'll take some questions and we'll do the giveaway. Welcome back. All right. So, if this is something that you would like to do as a home practice, like I said, we have some instructions on the nonlinear page, but also you can do this anytime, formal and informal, but just finding a song, moving your body in ways your body wants to move instead of forcing rhythm or form on your body. So it's very, very simple, and it can be done anywhere, in any which way. And of course, you're all going to get a coupon for a free session, so you can come for like a full length session. So with that said, I'll take some questions in a second. I also wanted to just show you very briefly, if you are interested in the teacher training, I just wanted to show you where it is, because people sometimes apply and then don't see that down here is all the information, everything you need to know, what kind of lectures, all the benefits, the timing. I'm teaching this in 2 time streams. So I teach this so people in Europe, the US, and Australia can do this. And it's probably the last time I'm going to do the 2 time streams. So if you're in one of the more fickle time streams, now is the time, meaning Australia and Asia mostly. And then down here, you'll see all the different modules, what we are teaching you. There's all kinds of bonuses, and that's where you'll find it, should you be interested. Now, if you have any questions, I see there's some questions. Oh, the music is, Jackie, you might not have heard this. There is a playlist I take this music from. It's on Spotify, and it is on that nonlinear page that we just listed to. A full session is an hour. So typically we practice for about 50 minutes, and there's a 10-minute intro. And you have the code coming in your follow-up email, so you can use it. We'll put some more sessions up now that I'm back from Australia. I just came back from teaching in Australia. All right. Any other questions? Oh, also worth saying, that I'm going to be teaching in London and then in Europe and Portugal, some really in-depth retreats. There's also a teacher training, brand new teacher training for intimacy and attraction with updated material in August. Yes, you can sit on your knees, Catherine. When you look back at the replay, I demonstrate that. You can, of course, be in any other position you want other than standing up, of course. Oh, yes, the to-do lists, that's completely okay. You can move the to-do list through your body. That's a normal thing to begin with. As you do longer practice, that goes away. Diana is laughing because she knows that one. Greta, yes, there is a lot about being a trauma-informed practitioner, because I am a trauma therapist by training. And in the teacher training, there is in general, how do you facilitate and contain well and without imposing on your clients. I feel a sense of frustration because on hands and knees, the range is limited. I try to move as frustration. I'm moving every day in the morning for now 8 to 10 minutes. And you have the urge to stand up every single time. Kirsi, good practice, don't stand up. And here's why. The things we already know how to do are typically our go-to ways of avoiding deeper feeling. So very often when we bump up against things that actually require us to drop in and feel more, we have these go-to ways of moving or behaving that pop us out. So when you have that feeling of wanting to pop out and that frustration, that's actually a sign that other things are happening. And so, by all means, if you can, just move with the frustration. Also, feel what's underneath that frustration. That's actually a really good practice report. Don't give in. Just stick with it till you see what that's about, which is quite interesting when you get to what's that. Minimal time for practice. Well, typically 10-15 minutes is great. But even if you just do 5 minutes every day, it's way better than once a week for an hour because it is a cumulative practice, of course. I find it difficult to be introspective and not influenced by the music. That's normal. You don't have to practice with music. It's most people find it useful. And is it safe to have people do this for 10 minutes before laying down to receive a sound bath? Well, Catherine, I wouldn't facilitate this, right? It takes a lot to understand what's behind the method. But because, just instructing based on a session isn't going to allow you to really understand why we're doing it. But for yourself, of course, or in an informal, kind of practice, you can do longer relaxation. But like I said, there's reasons on how we work with the nervous system. And depending on how a practice is sequenced, you would have longer or shorter, relaxation. But that there is a little bit more to it than just move and relax. But for home practice, move and relax will do. But for facilitation, I would definitely say learn a bit more about it. Okay, the giveaway. Some people have to go. And so I'm going to do the giveaway. We did a random name generator thingy here. Casey did that. And so we have a card deck and a book. And this is the second to last card deck in stock, believe it or not. We're waiting for the next edition, the third edition that's slightly amended to come. But tariffs, printing in China, things of that nature are making it all a bit scary right now. So this is the second to last card deck that we have at the moment. And that one is going to Tara Simi. And then we have, and you can let us know your address and also if you want it signed or not. And then we have a copy of the book, and that's going to Carrie Lynch. Once again, you can have it signed or not signed. That's up to you. Enjoy. Greta Krieger, yes, you can say that. You will get a specific certificate. You're a trauma-informed practitioner, but you are other things as well. So yes, if you have questions on the teacher training, you can just email us. For the rest of you, thank you so much. I appreciate so many of you joining us. Maybe I'll see some of you live in Europe, London, Portugal, Ojai, all kinds of fun stuff coming up. And bye.